Let's be honest. For so many young people, getting from graduation day to a real, stable career feels impossible. It's like a maze. And that very first job, the one that's supposed to kick everything off, it just seems completely out of reach. So today, we're going to dig into why that is and look at a powerful, proven idea for building a much better bridge to the world of work.
So, why is it so hard? I mean, this is a feeling pretty much everyone has had, right? You've got the degree, you've got the drive, but every single employer wants the one thing you don't have: experience. It's that classic catch-22. But what if this isn't just you? What if it's a huge structural problem that actually has a solution backed by some serious data?
And this chart right here, this is really the heart of the story. This isn't just a theory, it's a fact you can see with your own eyes. We're looking at youth unemployment versus how many young people are in apprenticeships. And that trend line, it's screaming at us. The countries down there in the bottom right, with tons of apprenticeships, think Germany, Denmark, Austria, they have incredibly low youth unemployment. The data is sending a really powerful signal here.
Okay, so here's our game plan for today. First, we'll break down that first job hurdle. Then we'll talk about a very old idea that's new again. After that, we dive into the hard proof, the numbers. We'll zoom in on the Swiss blueprint for success, tackle a really big challenge, and wrap up by asking, what does this all mean for the future?
That phrase, the school-to-work transition, makes it sound so simple, doesn't it? But for millions, it's more like a giant canyon. The real problem is a mismatch. The classroom world values theory, but the working world demands hands-on, practical skills. And without a real bridge connecting the two, young people are basically told to just jump. And a lot of them don't make it on the first try. So, how do we build that bridge? Well, the answer might be an idea that's literally been around for centuries, but it's been totally supercharged for today's economy: the modern apprenticeship. And no, we're not talking about fetching coffee. We are talking about a serious, high-powered launchpad for a career. The magic word here is dual system. See, an apprentice isn't just a student, and they're not just an employee. They're both, at the exact same time. You spend part of the week at a company actually doing the job, earning a real wage. And you spend the other part in a classroom, learning all the theory behind what you're doing. It is literally the best of both worlds all rolled into one. All right, it sounds good in theory, but here's the real question. Does it actually work? Well, let's look at the evidence. We can talk about ideas all day, but the data coming out of Europe tells this incredibly clear and consistent story about the real-world impact. The numbers just don't lie. And wow, is the evidence compelling. Just look at this. On the bottom, you have the rate of apprenticeships, and on the side, you have the youth employment rate. The trend is just, you can't miss it. The more apprenticeships you have, the more young people have jobs. Simple as that. Look at Germany, Austria, and Denmark way over on the right. Their employment rates are through the roof. Now let's just flip that coin over and look at unemployment. It's basically a perfect mirror image. The more apprenticeships a country has, the fewer young people are sitting at home without a job. When you put these two charts together, they paint this undeniable picture of a system that just works. It gets people into jobs.
And the impact is even bigger than that. It massively affects something called the NEET rate. That stands for young people who are not in employment, education, or training. They're basically left in limbo, and that is a huge problem for society. But you guessed it, the countries with strong apprenticeship systems have way fewer young people falling through those cracks.
And this isn't just about a nice-looking line on a graph. Nope, economists dug deep into the numbers, and what they found is kind of staggering. For every 1% increase in the number of apprenticeships, the youth employment rate goes up by almost a full percent, 0.95% to be exact. That's a nearly one-for-one return. That's huge. Okay, so the big picture data is pretty convincing. But what does one of these amazing systems actually look like on the ground? For that, we've got to go to the country that many people consider the absolute gold standard, Switzerland. And the first thing you need to know about the Swiss model might actually shock you. It all starts at age 15. Yep, 15. At an age when most of us were just trying to figure out high school, Swiss teenagers with a ton of input from their parents are making a real, informed choice between a traditional academic path and a hands-on vocational one. Now, the reason this isn't some crazy gamble is because the entire society is built to support it. It's a system that absolutely everyone buys into. Parents respect it. Schools start career education super early, and the employers, They see it as their fundamental duty to train the next generation. And maybe the most important piece, every single apprentice gets their own trained mentor at work. And you just have to listen to this quote from a 17-year-old apprentice. She says her mentor helps her with goals, with conflict, and then she says this: "Above all, she looks after me." Wow. That right there, that's the secret sauce. This isn't about being cheap labor. It's about being nurtured and guided by someone who has your back.
Okay, so you go through this amazing system, but there's a catch. For any of it to matter, the certificate you get at the end has to be worth something, right? It needs to be respected everywhere. And that brings us to a huge, kind of complicated hurdle: occupational licensing.
Licensing is a classic double-edged sword. On one side, you absolutely want it. It's how we know our nurses and electricians know what they're doing. But on the other side, when the rules are this crazy patchwork of inconsistent requirements, they stop protecting us and start just blocking good, qualified people from getting a job. And if you want to see just how nuts this can get, look at what it takes to be a cosmetologist in the US. In South Carolina, you need 500 hours of training. Okay, but if you move over to Iowa, suddenly you need 2,100 hours. That's more than 4 times as much training to do the exact same job. How can an apprenticeship credential mean anything when the goalposts are moving that much?
So, let's put it all together. We have a clear problem getting kids from school to work. We have a solution with powerful, powerful evidence behind it. And we have some of the real-world challenges like licensing that get in the way. So, what does that mean? Where do we go from here?
You know, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. A well-designed apprenticeship is not just some little program. It's a real structural bridge. It physically connects the world of learning to the world of work. And that benefits everybody: the young people, the companies, and the entire economy.
Which really brings us to the final big question. We've seen the data. We've seen the model for success. But in so many countries, this incredible career path is still seen as the alternative. You know, it's plan B. But after seeing the results, you really have to stop and ask, if this model of earning while you're learning works so well, why on earth is it the exception and not the rule?